Hello, everybody. I'm Toby Shifsky. I'm the Vice President of Kaplan Real Estate Education, and today we're here for our Real Expert webinar, and I have a panel with us today, so it's the first time we've done a full panel. Our topic today is market trends for 2025. We're in the new year. What is on the horizon, right, across the US? And so we thought we'd bring some of our staff experts, of which we have four, and kind of spread out across the country. And I'm going to go ahead and introduce them because I have Will Lau, Jenny Van Ornum, and I have Kim Gardner along with Charles Lee. And so thank you guys for being here. I'm going to give you just a little bit more of an introduction, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen and bring everybody up on the big screen. So welcome today, everybody.
Thanks for having us, Toby.
Yeah, right on.
Great to be here.
Yeah, excellent. And Jenny, you're all good?
I'm good, ready to go.
Charles, you're all good?
Good afternoon from the East Coast.
Very good. Well, not only are these guys all real estate instructor experts, and they deal with hundreds and thousands of students every single year for Kaplan, doing numerous things from real estate licensing to coaching to continuing education. But I'm going to go ahead and just give you a little bit more about each of them so you know who we're talking to today, because they all have some insights into their local markets, and we're going to see how that plays out across the country. First, I'm going to start with Will. Will Lau, with over 25 years of customer service. Will came from a service industry and transitioned beautifully, I would say, into a real estate career back in 2010, becoming a full-time agent in 2016, right? So you did the part-time to full-time, which is super interesting. And I know you talk about that a lot in your coaching. And in 2019, he launched a successful real estate team, leading professionals dedicated to delivering exceptional service. And his role as board of director of the finance and luxury division, which is a nice little niche, further honed his expertise and market complexities. So, Will, thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Toby. Appreciate that.
Absolutely. I'm going to go East Coast. We're going to kind of zigzag back and forth across the country. But Charles Lee. Charles began his real estate career in 2016 in, was it Durham, North Carolina? That's right. I thought I had that right. Leveraging technology to simplify complex transactions and save his clients time and energy. Kind of ahead of your time, Charles, and very apropos for today. So today he shares his expertise in coaching and teaching aspiring agents, delivering engaging and insightful classes, and you do, filled with real life examples, and make big concepts easy to grasp. We hear that from our students all the time. Charles, thank you for being here.
Thanks, Toby. I'm going to record that and make that my alarm clock so I can just wake up to that every day. That was awesome. Thanks for that intro.
Yeah, no worries. And then Jenny Van Ornum from Colorado. Jenny is I would say, I don't want to say extensive. It gets to a point, Jenny, where you get almost you don't want to tell everybody how long you've been in the business.
I know.
Myself, I got over 30 years, and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to say it anymore. But Jenny's extensive and rewarding career in real estate spans over 25 years. As her life's work and passion, she educates, mentors, and informs both real estate professionals and her clients. As the lead instructor for Kaplan Real Estate Education in Colorado, Jenny also mentors new brokers and assists top producers with innovative ways to take their business to the next level, and does an excellent job as a Kaplan instructor too. So thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And last but not least, Kim Gardner. Kim's coming from that dead center, Illinois perspective. Actually, Kim's a little hidden gem. She's actually an expert in many states, but she's going to cover Illinois for us today. Kim is an entrepreneur at heart. And I love that entrepreneurial spirit, Kim. She's driven by passion for building and creating. Her love for real estate, both selling and teaching, fuels her commitment to excellence. She's licensed in Illinois since 2014. Good timing there, market coming up very nicely in 2014. Kim earned her pre-licensing instructor license in 2017, became a managing broker in 2019, and founded Dream Home Real Estate Academy in 2021. All while maintaining a top 20% producer distinction in sales. Well done, Kim. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Absolutely.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Oh, very good. All right, everybody, we got introductions, we got the table set. If you've come to any of your live online sessions, if you're an existing student, if you've done licensing course, you've probably seen one of these people before, but you're going to see them in a little different light because they're going to kind of start to shed some real market knowledge about what's happening and what they see and their insights for 2025. I'm going to go ahead and do one thing first, everybody, if we could. All right, this is the chance for everybody who's on the webinar, all the attendees, you're going to get a chance to answer a poll question. We're going to ask a couple poll questions as we go along, your chance to play. Remember, all your chats have your name attached to your chat, but any of the poll questions are anonymous. So nobody's going to know what you answer for the poll questions, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and put a poll question up really quick. It's our first poll question, just to understand who's here so we can kind of tailor our conversation to who's actually in the audience. In fact, poll question number 1 is pretty straightforward. Who is in the audience, right? How long have you had your real estate license? Go ahead and answer the poll question if you would, please. If you're on your phone or a tablet, you may need to swipe to another screen to find the poll question, but most of you will have the poll question launched right up in front of you on your screen. Go ahead and answer it. We'd really like to understand who's here, and it's always a little bit of a rolling the dice when we start this, depending on what the topic is. But we generally get people from all categories. So go ahead, answer it real quick. Yeah, it's just it's coming back pretty typical, actually. So this is excellent. Look at you're saying it in the chat, Liz. I get that. If you can answer the poll question, though, there should be a little pop-up on your screen to answer a poll question. All right, I'm going to close the poll in 3, 2, 1, 0. I'm going to end the poll and I'm going to share the results. We'll always share the results with you. So go ahead, take a look at this. We got 52% of you are currently taking classes at Kaplan. Bravo, good for you.
Yay.
Education, training, fastest way to make you smart on a topic. The thing I always loved about what we did at Kaplan, what we do at Kaplan, is we take people with, Jenny Van Ornen with 25 years of experience. We got people with 9 years of experience and 5 years of experience, but experts in their field. You get access to all that knowledge in our classes. Really, you get it in any class if you've got a competent instructor. I would do find education, make it a cornerstone of your career, and you'll never go wrong, no matter where you get your education. Love for you to come to Kaplan, but don't stop taking education. Less than 3 years. How about this? We got 9%. So almost 1 out of 10 of you have been licensed for less than 3 years. You've seen the whole after COVID thing, right? I mean, good for you. Actually, I think a great time to get in the marketplace, to really understand new dynamics, to understand new kind of participation rules, especially after large lawsuits and commission stuff and all that kind of thing. Great opportunity for you people. 5 to 10 years, bravo, you're in it. You're probably in it for the long run. We got 3%, 10 years plus, 16% of you, 10 years plus. You people have been for 10 years. We're looking for you to participate today. Throw your comments up in the chat. Love to have your insights into the marketplace also. And you're going to get a couple golden nuggets out of this today, I promise you. Also, how about this? We got people who are looking to get their license. We've got 18% of the people sitting in here don't even have a license yet. That's fantastic. You're in the right spot. These are the kind of people that you're going to get educated from when you come to Kaplan. And we're share. We are probably an oversharing bunch. And I like that because every one of us believes in education and the power of education. So let's go ahead. I'm going to jump right in with our first question because everybody's kind of interested. And here's what we're going to do, guys. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to do like a panel. So I'm going to call on somebody and give your answer. And then we'll go on to the next person. We can take comments in the chat and we'll go from there. So I'm just going to start with kind of everybody's big question, right? Which is, what are the most significant trends you are seeing in your region right now? You know what? I'm going to start with East Coast. Charles, why don't you give us an impression? You're in North Carolina. I know you're very familiar with South Carolina. I know you're familiar with Georgia and Virginia and even Tennessee. That little spot there is in the news a lot. Tell us.
Yeah.
What do you think the most significant trends you're seeing in your region right now?
I would say the biggest trend we're seeing is work from home. The idea that it doesn't necessarily matter where you live because you can work at a company across town and you only have to do that commute maybe 2 or 3 times a week, if at all. So
Yeah.
we're noticing people are starting to be more creative about where they live in our towns. They are starting to spread out more. Areas that traditionally people would have avoided because it's hard to drive there or get there are starting to get some love. So we're starting to see areas grow that traditionally hasn't had a lot of interest. And that's true across states. We're seeing people move to Tennessee simply for the tax savings. So
Uh-huh.
it's very, very interesting to see how areas you wouldn't have normally considered, you're now considering because your job won't have to change. It won't be as big of a disruption to your family.
Got it. And you got some personal income tax savings moving to the state.
Exactly.
Are you guys, or the rest of you, I'm very kind of keenly, I think this is a big, broad topic as we hear of organizations like Amazon and Chase banks and everybody saying we're going forcing people to come back to 5-day work weeks, which not surprisingly isn't actually being isn't actually having a ton of success in being executed. What are you guys seeing in your areas? Is this a real thing? Is this still a thing that the remote working creating I would say transitions to different areas that normally weren't considered hot? Are you seeing that in your areas too?
I feel like we're seeing that in Colorado. I believe that a lot of the larger companies have actually requested that employees come back into the workplace, which is causing issues. I have clients that moved, to Monument and they work in the Denver Tech Center. So a 45-hour commute 3 times a day is no
Yeah,
longer
45
really
minute
enjoyable.
commute three
Yeah,
times a day.
at
Yeah,
least 45
yeah.
minutes. Yeah.
How about you, Kim?
Yeah, definitely. So working from home, I think, impacts the real estate market in a lot of ways. First of all, the buyer is looking for different functionality of rooms and spaces in the home too, right? So a space to work is a requirement, right? And
Mhm.
so, yes, in terms of working remotely, it's still a thing. But one of the good trends that I'm seeing in our market is the fact that it's still really a strong seller's market. Still very
Mm.
much of a strong seller's market. So, we saw that it in 2020, right? And demand was so very high. It's still pretty high. And if the property is in good condition, the homes are selling very quickly. So
Got it.
last Labor Day, I put a house on the market and it literally sold in 2 days,
Mm.
$20,000 over asking, and the
Sure.
seller made over $90,000 in equity in 4 years. So still very much of a strong seller's market.
Interesting. Will, back on the topic of remote working, how's it affecting California? I mean, we all hear about the grand exodus out of California, which is sort of true and sort of not true. I mean, what are you seeing there?
Yeah, I
Remote.
mean, anecdotally, it's really interesting. A lot of whether it be colleagues, friends, family members who are in the tech industry, that remote working is still pretty prevalent in those areas. And those companies have made strong statements saying that they're not going back to the office. They've sold off their office space and different things like that. But I'm starting to see other companies, biomedical companies and things like that. They're going from 1 to 2 days back to a 5-day work
Oh,
week back into the office. And even though that may be a slow transition, they made announcements in 24 Q4 that they're going to do that, and they still haven't quite implemented it just yet. So I'm starting to see businesses in California, especially in Southern California, Orange County area, implementing that back. And it's having an impact. People are having long commutes. People are reconsidering where they're living. And I think we're going to have to wait and see how that actually shakes out.
yeah. Well, I can tell you the push. I feel like the genie's out of the bottle on remote work, and there will be some pullback, like just like when the pendulum kind of swings. But the one thing it did is it helped all those satellite communities around the big metropolitan areas where in Minnesota, where we're from, where we saw those small that the places that maybe still had a hospital, still had some education, still had a foundation of services available to people. They didn't necessarily need the jobs in that area because there people were working remotely. We saw a lot of people move out of the city and into those satellite areas. And that's still a force today. We're still seeing those homes appreciating quickly, as long as you've got the connectivity and the kind of the staple services of school district, health, medical the services. You don't have to drive an hour for a hospital. You got one in town. So if you see that, we're still seeing that push and that drive. Let me ask this. Let's go around, because great point on the remote working, Charles. Jenny, what are you seeing for the most significant trends in your region right now?
I feel like what we're seeing in the Colorado area is that because people can work from home, but
Mhm.
we are having also seeing people go back in, is affordability in that Denver area, metro area, that you have to go further out if you want to purchase property, because we have low inventory and our housing prices are still pretty high. So we're
Yeah.
watching those suburbs, and even further out than what I would consider a typical suburb, where, like if you're in the Denver metro area, people are going all the way to Pueblo sometimes in order to be able to find a home that is affordable.
Yeah. So affordability, another one of those kind of pressing national things that I think we're going to get into a little bit later as we
Yep.
talk about some of those factors. But Kim, I think you've given some input about what you think. And then Will, what are you feeling? The most significant trends you're seeing in your region right now?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, when you look at the National Association of Realtors, chief economist Charles Lawrence
Yeah.
Yun talk about how 24 has been a very difficult year, especially after a really tough 2023 in regard to sales transactions and volume and different things like that. In California, we're sort of seeing that. I mean, on average in Orange County specifically, sort of middle in between LA and San Diego, we're in the 2020s, the average transaction amount was about 25,000, and in 2024 it was 20,000 transactions. And so it's a significant drop, and we're not close to the pre-pandemic numbers. But what was really encouraging, I mean, experientially and from the data perspective, post-election, we saw a jump in regards to interest and transaction. So on average between 2022, 23, and 24, there's about 1,400 transactions that happen in a December timeframe. But in 2024 December, that jumped to 1,600. And so 25% increase from 24 to 23. And so maybe based off the perception of the economy upcoming, or maybe because of the stock market or the different financial portfolios that people have, there's definitely been a strong interest, especially in Southern California, Orange County area, that have been driving ever since post-election.
Since post-election. That's interesting, because I know that generally in election years there's a huge push for driving down mortgage interest rates, and we saw something really kind of funky happen where the interest rates actually went up significantly, and it was about basically some of the economic plans of the incoming president that kind of sparked some fears about inflationary interests. But let me ask a quick question, just to kind of throw this out there right now, because I think we talk about some of the key market, housing stats that go out there. What do you think the number one factor is in your market? What key housing stat tells the story? I mean, about where your market is. Is it new construction? Is it mortgage rate? What is that key stat? And I would just go, Kimberly, do you have a kind of a key stat that you think is the most important thing that deals with the marketplace as it is in your area?
Yes, good question. So along the lines then of that strong sellers market that I referenced before. So, just being a teacher here for just a second.
Yeah.
So from 0 to 3 months, okay, how long it takes to sell a house from the time it goes on the market to the time it closes. 0 to 3 months, that's a strong seller's market. That's a pretty quick turnaround to sell a piece of property. And then 3 to 5 months would be considered a balanced market. And that's really where we want to be economically. That's the ideal. And then when it takes more than 5 months to sell a house, that's that's a strong buyer's market, right? That's
Okay.
buyer advantage for sure. So when
So
you're
what, so
looking
0 to
Mhm.
3, so 0 to
0 to 3,
3, seller's market, 3 to
seller's
5,
market,
pretty
yes,
balanced. And
right,
then 5 and over, you're talking, this is
yes.
buyer's market because
Then the
things
buyer's
aren't
holding the
moving.
cards at that point.
Yeah, got
Absolutely. Absolutely.
it.
So we're not there. We're on the opposite end of the spectrum. We're in a super strong seller's market. And so when you look at like this, the statistics from our MLS, which is that Western suburbs market, which is Will County, DuPage County in Illinois, in December, just last month, the month's inventory was 2.8, so less than 3 months. Going back to the summertime in June, it was right around 2 months to sell a house, and then
Mm.
right around 2 months in January. So just looking at 2024 as a whole, it's still kind of the same song that we've been singing for the last 5 years. It's advantage seller in Illinois.
Interesting.
Yes.
And everybody else seeing that still in your markets? You're still seeing advantage seller?
Yeah, I would definitely say that. And the key stat that I would throw on there is even though houses are sitting a little bit longer in our southern market, they're stretching out. We're seeing that 5 to 6 month range.
Okay.
That normally would worry us. We would start to see home prices come down. We would start to see some other indicators sort of show the advantage to the buyer. We're actually not seeing that. Home prices are still going up in our area. So in North Carolina, our home prices are still rising, even with homes sitting a little bit longer. So it's really interesting to see that it is still an advantage to the seller on this market because the home prices are stabilizing and still staying high. We're not seeing a huge drop off.
Got it.
I feel like our in the Colorado area, I feel like our inventory is very low. We have about 2.5 months of inventory. So if another house didn't go on the market today, we'd be out of inventory in 2.5 months. However, I'm seeing a lot of new construction, and the new construction is shining through because they can come in and actually buy down an interest rate for the term of the buyer's loan. So they have, I think, a competitive advantage, and we're seeing more of that new construction be able to, of course, continue to increase prices, but they come in and, offer to buy down someone's interest rate for 30 plus years is amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. I mean, I think the hope is that new construction is going to provide units for the demand, the pent up demand, the 3.5, 3.8 million across the country pent up
Yeah.
demand. But I don't think they have it coming online fast enough in the markets that need it. But so we continue to, Will, you guys continuing to see the rise in prices too?
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, when we're talking about transaction amounts, 28,000 is usually the average within the past 10 years. A lot of that is pre-pandemic numbers, but now we're seeing transaction numbers being close to 20, 21,000. And so we have about 1.5 months worth of inventory in regards to Orange County. And just what Kim was talking about, 0 to that 3 month, and as it get closer to that zero number, it means it's a stronger seller market. And prices from 2023 to 2024 increase between 9 to 12% in certain areas, and average closed sale price being 1.5. So it's really interesting, and it's really unfortunate and very sad with all the fires and the natural disasters
Yeah.
that are happening in Southern California. Unfortunately, I think that's just gonna impact more of the inventory issues that we're seeing, and it's gonna be even stronger sellers market.
I know we had a couple of our attendees ask the question in the chat, and I'm glad you addressed it because I think we did talk a little bit before the session, everybody, and we said, what do you think is going to have an impact? And it'll probably have an impact. It definitely has an impact on inventory. And when there's less, it's the old supply and demand. With less supply, the demand looks greater, which drives pricing up again. And you can see that probably not only within those communities where it's affected, which are not going to be recovered overnight. It's going to take years to recover from that. But those surrounding communities now, people got to need a place to go. And so they'll be moving into those surrounding communities, and you're going to see that influx. So, when you displace 10, what do they say? How many? I thought it was like 12,000 buildings, but somewhere around maybe 8, 9, 10,000 homes. That's a lot of That's a lot of homes out of a marketplace.
And Toby, I think we're going to even see it, not just that they're going to move to California communities. I think they're going to move out of California. We already have a lot of people that move in from California to Colorado, and I think we're just going to continue to see that. They'll go to Arizona, they'll go to Colorado, they'll go to Texas.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, especially with remote working where I don't have to lose my job and I can still move. And this may be the impetus, at least for even a short term. I'm really would also wonder what it's going to do to the rental market also. Super good. Let's do this. I got another poll question for everybody. I'd like to have the attendees play along because we're talking about home purchases and I'm kind of really interested. We get a lot of people come in to do education. We get a lot of professionals. I'm wondering how many of the people who are going into real estate, who are already in real estate, how many of you have purchased a home within the last 5 years? So I'm going to go ahead and put this question up. Play along. Once again, it's anonymous, but have you purchased a home within the last 5 years? Go ahead and answer the poll question. Can everybody see the poll question? Can you guys see it? Okay. It disappeared off my screen. I don't know where it is, but it usually pops up in a couple seconds. So go ahead and answer the question. Look at Alicia, 6 months ago. You put it in the chat, but if you could answer the poll question, that'd be great. Unless you want to add a little commentary in on the chat. So look at that. Lawrence says yes. Jamie Katz, Cash, just reminding people again. All right, there we go. So, how about that? Let's do this. I'm going to end the poll. 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to share. Well, I hit end results, but it's now disappeared again. And so as soon as it pops up, I will share those results. Here we go. Now I'm sharing the results. Can you guys see the results? 37% said yes. So how about that? Almost 40% of you have sold or purchased a home in the last 5 years. 63% haven't. I think that's kind of interesting. Really kind of interesting. Well, that means you're probably interested in real estate and you're here. So thank you for playing along. All right, let's do this. I'm going to go on to the next question. What do you think? And I'm going to start with Will, if I could here. So Will, what do you think the unique challenges are or opportunities in your area? What do you think? I mean, you got a lot going on in California. We got fires. We got people, moving out of the state. We got a lot of people moving into the state. We've got a lot of opportunity. What do you think the challenges or opportunities are for professionals in your region? What are the opportunities?
Yeah, I think what you had to look at as a real estate professional and the business owner, you're always looking at potential competition. You're looking at yourself and how you can continue to improve. And we're seeing that in Southern California specifically, if you're talking about per 1,000 residents within Southern California, in Orange County, there's about 5 agents per 1,000 residents. And that's pretty high. The national baseline is about 1.2 per 1,000. And so there's a good amount of competition. On top of that, though, transactions not being as much in regards to the past decade or past several years, that means there's not as much for agents to be able to consume or be able to have or be able to serve. Maybe bigger conglomerates, bigger teams, bigger businesses are helping buyers and sellers sell those homes. And so that's potential opportunity in regards to how can we sharpen our tools to be a better real estate agent, real estate professional to serve our customers and clients.
Interesting. So, there's an interesting piece. The average number of transactions has come down over the last couple of years, but the average price of the home has gone up and has been the offset in making less money versus making more money for a lot of people. I do know that. And so that's a very interesting thing. And for an understanding, give everybody an idea of what the average home price is in Orange County that sells.
1.4.
$1.4 million. So 1.4 million in Orange County. Charles, give me a North Carolina average. Were you 350, 60?
364. Yeah. 364,000. And just the fact that Will says 1.4 for his market shows you the difference. I have to clarify, I'm 100,000 in my market.
Nice.
We got
well,
the beaches,
that's a lot of
why.
transactions, right? So, I mean, on average, you get 3 homes in North Carolina for 1 in California. So, so it's interesting. How about this? Kim, what do you see are the unique challenges or opportunities in your region?
I think affordability is going to continue to be a challenge that hits our market. You know, each of us has already sort of attested to the fact that the price of real estate is increasing. It has been and it will continue to increase. And so I've noticed that so much, even like for the first time home buyer, right? So you take your first time home buyer that 10 years ago, a first time home buyer could find a home for $200,000. Well, that $200,000 house now is worth close to 400,000. And so it's really difficult for that first time home buyer to find a home, which of course they certainly deserve, that's going to be affordable for them, that's less than 300,000 in our marketplace. And that is really challenging. So then the first time home buyer says, okay, well, if I can't afford a single family home, what about a condo? Then you're looking at homeowners association fees and additional costs on top of the mortgage, right? In addition to property taxes. And it just makes it really, really challenging for, you know, the average American to take advantage of the American dream, right? To get their
Yeah.
slice of the pie. So home values, certainly a challenge.
Absolutely. Who else would like to? Jenny?
I will. I agree with the challenges on affordability, so I'll flip it to positivity. I believe a huge opportunity in a lot of markets are the baby boomer marketplace, where that is still the largest demographic of buyers and sellers. And those baby boomers are looking at either downsizing or right sizing a property and or staying in a property that they can make more age appropriate for them. And I think if we look for opportunities, that would be an amazing place to focus, you know, in a niche or something like that, to really be like, how can I help this demographic? And then in return, it'll increase our inventory, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, got it. Got it. Anybody else? Any others? Charles?
I was just going to add a challenge in a word would be density. In our communities, in our market, we built with space in mind. Most of the time, most people bought with acres included. And we are moving to where we need to be a little bit more dense because of our population increase. So it's a challenge, but it's also an opportunity as we start to build more homes in that same amount of space so that we can increase our inventory and actually respond to the demand that we're seeing.
That's a really good point. I've seen, you know, Minneapolis, Minnesota in 2018 changed their whole zoning ordinances. There is no different levels of residential zoning. It's all zoned same thing, and it's all math. Depending on how many square feet in your lot, depends on how many units you can have. You can build a 4-unit building with X amount of square footage, 3, you know, and so it is allowed for higher density in the same areas. They really looked at it because ultimately affordability comes down to inventory. How much inventory is there and demand? And so until we get more inventory or the demand goes away, home prices are going to keep going up. And I don't see demand going away. Not at all. Not in our marketplace. I mean, across the country, home prices are up 5.7% year over year. Across the country. Your market might be a little bit different, but 5.7%. I do think there's an interesting opportunity, though. We have a lot of people coming in to get real estate license that want to, you know, help people buy and sell real estate. But there's also a lot of a large group of people who are not going to be prepared enough to buy at the prices and levels they're at. Rentals, the rental, you know, you in most states, in fact, every state I know of, you have to have a real estate license in order to be a leasing agent or a rental agent on property. That is an opportunity to be able to go into rentals and leasing, understand that industry, understand maybe investment properties in the residential side. There's an opportunity there for people who are willing to do the work. I think that's a great place for newer agents to go in and learn. There's a lot of organizations that run more as an organization or a team, or there's even a development company that you can go work at. You have to have a real estate license to do that. And so it might be an opportunity for people to look at that rental industry also. Yeah. All right. How about this? What advice would you give to sellers and buyers in the current market? Jenny, what would you do in your marketplace? What advice are you giving your, there's kind of two things here. There's seller and there's a buyer. What would you give your seller or buyer? Pick which one you think is the strongest answer for.
Seller, my advice is when you are getting ready to put your house in the market, it needs to be ready to hit the market, meaning it needs to be in show home quality because you are competing against those new construction. So you're going to get money out of painting. You're going to get money out of updating your kitchen. It needs to be professionally staged. It needs to have professional photography. It needs all of the technology that goes around a listing. So therefore it needs me. So those are all the things though that are going to have your home sell at the top for top dollar and the least amount of money. For buyers, they need to probably have their perfect world and then their must-haves. There are certain things that, there's no such thing as a perfect house. So what must you have? And then set those expectations and only go into the houses that look like they're going to fit your musts.
Yeah, love that. Yeah, I love the way that you said this for everybody. Just in case they missed it, you need to have your home show ready. Most homeowners don't really understand what that means. So what do you mean by show ready? That's an expertise that the agent brings. And identifying those issues and those pieces and those parts and then maybe even having a team that you have that you can call on from, here's a contractor painter that can come in, here's a landscape can brush up, here's a handyman that can fix, here's you having that little cadre, that little team, or maybe even you have a professional staging team that you work with. I know that my wife's business, she does that. She has an entire professional crew that she has, identified and worked with and created a relationship with, and then puts it in as a part of what she does as an agent, as a full service agent.
And for all of the people that are on this call that are getting ready to get their license and or just got their license and are building up their database, that is a phenomenal call to make to the people that know you, like you, trust you. I'm building a team of individuals to help me help my clients. Do you have a roofer? Do you have a window cleaner? Do you have a cleaner, a carpet? Like, you want to build your team, and in calling those people, your clients, and saying, do you have somebody to refer? You're building that database, and you're also letting them know that you're now in real estate.
Yeah, I love that. Love that. Way to leverage that all the way. Kim, what do you think? What would you give the advice to sellers and buyers?
Okay, so Jenny kind of took my two. So
Good.
here's the thing. So sellers are making really good money, right? On their investment, right? We established that already. So then what I would advise buyers to do is to leverage that.
Oh,
Absolutely leverage that. Ask sellers for more concessions. Ask
mhm,
sellers to help buy down their interest rate, right? Ask
mhm,
sellers to cover closing costs.
mhm.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt to ask, right? And so I had buyers that just closed 5 days before Christmas last month, and I was able to negotiate $15,000 in credits for them. It covered their closing costs, and they were able to buy down their rate twice. Buy down
Mm,
their rate twice. So while buyers are out there, hey, leverage that. If you're going to pay top dollar for a great property,
yeah.
then leverage what seller's investment is going to be and what seller's proceeds and profits going to be. Ask sellers to help you cover your
I
closing
love
costs.
that. I love
Yes.
that. Look, yeah, you can't get blood from a rock, right? But you can get blood from a fat rock. And a lot of these sellers, they have a lot of fat in there. They've had a lot of equity in the home. And so I love that positioning. But looking for some of our 10+ year people to maybe drop something in the chat on what you think about that advice, because I think that's pretty solid. That'd be what I call an A game, solid advice. Will, what would you do?
I was just thinking about, in light of the recent events, there's a proposition in California called Prop 19, and that's usually for those who are 55 and older. They bought a home for a while now, and then if they're trying to buy another home, they're not going to be able to afford the property taxes. But in reality, Prop 19 is also impacting those who have been impacted by natural disasters, wildfires, and things like that as well. And so there's concern for agents and businesses saying that a lot of people are going to be moving out of California, and that may be the case. But I think for sellers and buyers that have been impacted in those areas, they're probably going to be leveraging Prop 19 and buying in using that property tax that they've had for 10 plus, 20 plus, 30 plus years and moving that into a different county, maybe a different city, and be able to buy into those areas. And so a lot of owners who have been waiting for a market increase or appreciation or stronger appreciation to be able to retire, to be able to downsize, to be able to use those funds to give to their kids, this could be that opportunity. So thinking about that instead of fearing that people are going to be leaving or going other places, because there's opportunities even for those who have been impacted to take advantage.
Super interesting. Super interesting. All right. Like that. So use the law to help you. That's what it was there for, right? And I would imagine an agent that doesn't understand that is not going to be able to bring the same kind of value if somebody really understands that inside and out and how people can utilize it. Yeah, right on.
Absolutely.
Right on. Charles. What do you
Yeah.
think?
My advice would be I'm actually someone who did purchase within the last 3 months. So I sold a house and then bought a house.
Okay.
And my advice would be to buyers to get creative. And what I mean by that is a lot what Kim mentioned is you can ask for concessions. There's always exemptions that prove the rule. So we've mentioned that the market is trending very strongly towards sellers, but there are properties out there that have sat a little longer than the sellers expected to. There are properties out there that the sellers might have thought was gonna go a little bit faster, and the agent might have made some promises about how quick it was going to go under contract. Those are the opportunities that I try to coach my buyers on, that maybe we can come in and structure an offer that's really to your advantage and get you a really great deal. Which is what happened. I ended up buying a property from a company because I knew that it was all facts and figures for them. So when I ran the numbers, I said, this is the offer that makes the numbers work for you. And it's really to my advantage. And I ended up winning the house because I didn't have any competition. So I would say
Wow.
get creative. Get creative would be my advice.
Love that. Yeah, you know what? I think real estate underappreciated creativity. Creativity in structuring a deal, making something work. If you're a creative mind out there and you work well, emotionally intelligent with people, you can make a killing in the residential real estate market without a doubt. And I do think creativity plays a big role in commercial real estate and leasing. So the more creative you can be legally, be legal, always stay legal, the better off you're going to be. Let's do this. We got just a couple minutes left, and I'm going to drop into this kind of the big question. And I'm going to go once again. I'm going to go. Okay, I'm going to start with Kim on this one. And Kim, how do you anticipate, right, the market changing, your market changing over the next 6 to 12 months? So basically 2025. What changes from today to next year at this time? We're sitting there here talking about it, and we say, oh my gosh, this. So crystal ball, put it on, put your neck out there. What do you think happens in your market?
I think that the biggest lever with the change is going to be interest rates, right? It's the interest rate and then the perception of the interest rate, right, according to the consumer. So there's some talk that interest rates should be going down a little bit, and I think that's gonna drive demand, right? I think that's going to move the needle. So I'm really, really interested to see with this new administration, what interest rates are going to do. I've got my eye also on homeowners associations. So I had he actually teaches with me in Illinois, and he's a real estate agent. And we were talking about this. He had a couple of condo deals fall apart just recently because of. So if you think about like property insurance and claims from windstorms and hail and things like that. So claims increase, premiums increase, deductibles increase, and that changes like the solvency of the homeowners association, where it's difficult for buyers to be able to buy condos or buy townhomes. And it's hard, it can become harder for the sellers of those units to sell those properties too. So I think that is going to be a potential change for the next, for this upcoming year in the condo and townhome market as well.
Yeah. I think you touched on something there, the insurance. And what we
Mhm.
looked at, I mean, how does State Farm look like, geniuses? I don't know if they got out fast enough out of Southern California before the LA fires, but they said, we're not underwriting anymore. I mean, literally look
Yes.
like geniuses at this point. And so I do know of numerous, like it used to be like 1 out of 100, but I have seen more, like maybe 1 out of 40 homes not closed because of hazard insurance. Couldn't get hazard insurance. The roof was too old. Some of these things that were never really triggers before, tightening up. So this is a little bit of advice to everybody out there. Understand the underwriting requirements and hazard insurance in your area so that if you see a potential problem on a home being sold or purchased, you can get ahead of a problem and have it taken care of. You go into a listing and you see the homeowner's roof is a mess. And the new insurance company isn't going to underwrite the insurance. The buyer's not going to be able to buy it because the mortgage lender requires the insurance on the, so there's ways that I think insurance is going to be a big player across the country as we
Yes.
see more and more of these huge claims go out the door. They're going to ratchet down that tightening, and you need to be the expert. That's why they pay
Yes.
you. That you got
Yes.
that expertise, earn your money.
Mhm.
That's how you secure your job.
Mhm.
Let's do this. I go to Will. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I
Next
think in
six.
the next 6 to 12 months, I think transactions in at least Orange County, Southern California wise will stay flat, if not increase a little bit. But really the market to look at is that luxury market. I like to say it's like that 2.5 million and above. And in 2024, there was an increase in transactions by close to 30% from 24 versus 23. 20, almost 30% more transactions that happened in this category.
Do you think
And
that's going to keep going in
I think
2025?
it is. And I think that's going to be driving up the Orange County average sold price because these average sold price in this range is 4.4 million. And I think because of the economies, the stock market, because of different opportunities, I think
Yeah.
people are going to be coming into Southern California. I mean, Southern California is pretty expensive, but there's other parts of California, whether it be San Jose, Northern California, that are even more expensive. And there's different parts of the US that are more expensive that are coming in to the weather or to the different atmosphere in regard to that and enjoying it and taking opportunities of that. And so I think the luxury market in the next 6 to 12 months are going to continue to increase, driving up the average sold price in Orange County specifically.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. And I think I agree. Until we handle supply and we get more supply, I think across the board we're going to see continued price increases. It might. I mean, we're not going to be at 17% like it was in 2022, but even at 5%. I mean, for decades we would sit at a 2% or 3% home appreciation, and we're still at 5.7% from the previous year. So until we get supply figured out, I think they're going to continue to go. Charles, yeah, what do you think? Change the next 6 to 12 months.
Yeah, my prediction for the next 6 to 12 months in my area is that the market will continue to go up. On average, the average home prices across the country is around the 420s. And in our area in North Carolina and the South region in general, we're still around that 360. So we're still below average. And my prediction is over 2025, we will close that gap a little bit more. We will continue increasing. Unfortunately for the
People
people.
coming in, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Migration is still rising. And with that being said, from our perspective, it looks like the prices are going up. But from other people's perspectives, other markets, we're still a deal. So they're coming in and the markets are going
Yeah.
up. So we're just rising to the average. So I still see us going up in 2025.
Excellent. Jenny, what are you seeing, Colorado?
I believe that we will see some inventory acceptance that the inventory is low. I believe that
Yeah.
we're also going to see some interest rate acceptance, that the interest rates, they are what they are and they're not bad. And then I
Yep.
believe that there's a lot of current legislation in the Denver area, and I think it'll go into some of the other counties for ADUs and multi-generational living, where you can go in and purchase new construction that already has it done, or you'll be able to add ADUs to your property. And I think that's going to help substantially with affordability.
Excellent. I love it. I think the combo for me on this is, be creative, leverage the equity in the seller's home if you're representing a buyer, and that leverage can be asking for points to be paid down and take care of that whole mortgage question, at least get it to a rate that people are comfortable with, and adjust the sales price accordingly. But I like, once again, I don't see it in Minnesota. I don't see prices coming down. I don't see, unless there's a drastic change in the in employment and all. But even that is solid. So as long as employment stays solid and the demand is there, the home prices are not coming down. And here's the other thing that's inevitable: people have to sell. There's stuff that happens. There's death, divorce, job relocation, where those people have to go into work, right? That still happens. And so there are always going to be transactions available to people. And so I see the same thing. I see relatively the sales numbers and transaction amounts being the same as, in 2025 as they were in 2024. And like you said, I think as people become accustomed to what the new normal is, they find more creative ways. There'll be more creative financing that'll come along too. More adjustable rate mortgages that will have a better yield, a smaller yield spread than what they currently have, and differentiate themselves from the 30-year fixed rate mortgages more than what they are right now, which will make it more appealing. I think that'll happen too.
And Toby, I saw a lot of people ask if, kind of in that same line, if the 2025 market was going to be better or, worse than 2024. I certainly do not think it's going to be any worse. I personally think it's going to be better, not maybe substantially better, but certainly I think it's going to be better, which falls right along with that same question.
I agree. I don't think it's going to be worse. I think it's going to be as good or better. And I think this is an interesting time for everybody in real estate. There's a lot of people who stayed in real estate during COVID who were going to retire, move on, get out, and they stayed in. We are seeing that rollover. There's a fair amount of people going out of the industry right now, which is, again, opportunity. So if I had any advice for agents to succeed in 2025 is become the expert. Put your team together, be creative, understand your marketplace, and connect with people on real estate. For me, that's my advice. How about you? Real quick, and we'll wrap it up, round robin, in 10 seconds or less. What's your advice for agents in 2025? Let's go with Kim. Jump on it.
Yes, absolutely. Understand that your primary goal is to be a problem solver, And so not so focused on sales, not so focused on the outcome that will come, but first be a problem solver and help your sellers, help your buyers solve their problems. That's how you win.
Excellent. Will, what's your advice? 10 seconds or less.
Comfort zone. Oftentimes my comfort zone is much bigger than this. Success is going to be found outside that comfort zone. And so be prepared, especially when tougher markets, it might be more challenging, difficult, might not be as easy as you've heard agents in the past. Understand what your comfort zone is and know that it's going to be harder and success is found outside of that.
Excellent. Charles, what's yours?
My advice to agents in 2025 is use the fact that you're new to this industry to your advantage. You don't have any bad habits. You're going to be very easy to adapt and adjust. That's your advantage, and you will have that advantage over people who even have industry expertise. So use it. Use it to your advantage and get to know what's going on and go after it.
What are you saying? Us old dogs can't learn new tricks, or come on?
I'm in that category too, Toby.
And Jenny, what's your advice?
Mine would be consistent. With your marketing, be consistent. Don't stop right when you think you're about, this is a waste of time. That's right when the magic's going to happen. So have a plan, work your plan, and do it consistently.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I want to say thank you to all of you, all of our guests, all of our instructors, all the attendees. Thank you for being here with us on Real Expert today. Once again, you know what? If you want to continue this conversation, you can go to our community, the Kaplan community. These guys are all in. Charles is in like every day into the community answering questions. Go into the Kaplan community, continue the conversation, and look for everybody else who's already asked some of the questions you want. It's a resource for you, especially if you're a student here. You have access to the education side of the community. but we have the public facing community. I know Jamie Cash is putting the address into the chats. Thank you again, my experts. Appreciate you very much. And everybody else, have a great day. Thank you.
Thanks, Toby. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.